Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today for this student panel with our GBS students, Master in Global Business and Society students. Thank you also to our students who are extremely busy for their time today. I really appreciate you taking time of your busy agendas to share with us your experience during the program while you were applying to the program to help those considering joining the GBS make a final decision and also know from your experience what to do or what not to do. Everyone, my name is Camino de Paz. I'm the Assistant Dean of Growing Our Programs at Yale School of Management. Part of my portfolio is overseeing admissions for 2-degree programs. One is the MAM, Master of Advanced Management, and the other one is the one we're talking about today, which is the Master in Global Business and Society, GBS. Before we kick it off, I just want to clarify something. There's 2 pathways to get into the GBS. One is once you are doing your Master's in Management program, or when you have graduated from your Master's in Management program, you apply directly to the GBS program. And we have 3 rounds. We're currently in round 2. And the deadline to apply for round 2 is February 21st. The other pathway, which I think some of our candidates, maybe Lucia, have gone through this pathway, I'm not sure, is through the M2M. The M2M is not a program per se, it's a pathway into the program, which is basically applying to any of our partner schools, which are ATC, UBC, Southern, or HKUST. And you apply to both the schools prior to joining any of them. So you apply and get into the MIM at ATC, UBC, Southern, and HKUST, and then the GBS, which will follow the MIM program. I just want to clarify because I'm sure that we have attendees who are considering applying in both different routes. So I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that the M2M is a program per se. The program is the GBS. The M2M is just a pathway to get to the GBS. Okay, enough about me. Lucia, I'm going to start with you. Can you please introduce yourself? Let us know where your hometown is, where you did your Master's in Management at, and what were you doing in terms of work or internships prior to joining the program. And then last but definitely not least, what activities or clubs have you joined at SOM that really are enriching and that you're enjoying?
Thank you. And also thanks for everyone attending today. So my name is Lucia. I'm originally from a town near Frankfurt in Germany, and then did my first year of the double degree at HEC Paris in France. Prior to coming to GBS, I did some internships in finance-related jobs, and then eventually in consulting, which is also what I'm going to be doing after the GBS program then. And here at Yale, I've been engaged in several activities and sports, and I think some of the ones that I've enjoyed the most have been being part of the culinary committee at Yale SOM, and then also trying out different sports like squash, Pilates, and then hopefully this semester also softball.
Thank you so much. George, can I ask you to go next?
Sure. Thank you for having me here. My name is George, and my MIM school was HKUST, and I also applied through the M2M pathway to come here. My hometown is Nanjing City of China, and my past work experience are mostly consulting as well. I did ESG climate risk sector and also like the digital transformation service line. For the Yale group that I involved in are mostly the consulting club, as well as my previous experience. And also I'm very interested in joining the tech sector after I graduate. So I participate a lot the tech club.
Thank you. Fernando.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. So my name is Fernando. I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela. I did my master's in management at Fundación Getúlio Vargas in São Paulo. And before doing my master's, I worked mostly in technology and management consulting. So I did about 1 year at Facebook in São Paulo in their LATAM headquarters. And then I did about 3 years in management consulting with Accenture, mostly working in digital transformation projects in Latin America. So I think through the pathway, I first joined Fundación Getúlio Vargas. And then while being there, that's when I went through the whole admissions process with Yale. So 1 year in Sao Paulo, 2nd year here at Yale, and then if everything goes according to plan, graduating in May. And then clubs here at Yale, I'm in student government. So I am the cohort representative for the GBS program. And I'm also part of the ALAS group at SOM, which is the Hispanic and Latin American Students Associations. And then in sports, very much like Lucy, I also play squash. We play squash like almost every Tuesday. So that's about it here.
Thank you so much. So I mentioned that I was going to be targeting questions to one of you, and then you could add. But this first question, I think, is meaningful for each of you to answer. And the question is, why did you decide? What did you decide to apply to the GBS? Like, you were already doing a master's in management in one of the top schools in the world. You could very well go and work right away. Why did you decide to do an additional year of studies at Yale and the GBS in particular? No particular order. I don't know. I'm going to start with Fernando now, which was last. Fernando,
okay.
What was the reasoning?
So I think that my decision to come to, so my reasoning behind applying to the GBS program, it was actually kind of like a bundle. So it was kind of like the whole double degree program, right? So as I mentioned, I worked in management consulting for about 3 years. And I think my decision was probably a little bit more career driven. I remember that once I was starting to like reach that consultant level, I started seeing that a lot of my peers or people that were a little bit more my senior and people that I truly admired had some very good kind of like graduate experience behind them. And I said, maybe it's the right time for me. So amongst that period, I started researching and I found out that there were a couple of Accenture consultants who did this precise program. So I think they were about 1 or 2 years my seniors. They did 1 year at Fundación Getulio Vargas and then at Yale. And then once I met with them, they basically sold the program. They said, this is an amazing kind of like holistic approach to your graduate studies. You get to do 1 year at this amazing school in Sao Paulo. And the good thing is that in Sao Paulo, we would have our classes at night. So you didn't really even have to sacrifice a whole year of your career. So I would work as a full-time consultant from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., I would go to FGV. I would have my classes all the way until night. And then here at Yale, I'm a full-time student. So it's just a very, very holistic approach. And I think it was kind of like the right time for me to do it.
Thank you. Lucia.
Okay, so for me, I applied when I was already at HEC, and my decision to apply specifically for the GBS program was driven, I think, by 3 key reasons. The first one being that the curriculum is really customizable, which is not the case with many other programs. And I think this is really one of the biggest assets of the program. So you can choose almost all of your courses, and you can choose not only from management courses, but also from courses across the entire university, which I think is really unique and has allowed me to really double down on my specific interests. For example, by taking classes by the School of the Environment or taking classes by the Global Affairs School. So this is the first big reason. The second one is that obviously at Yale you have amazing professors, amazing faculty, and also faculty that's very well connected to incredible guest speakers. So the quality of teaching is just very different from anything I've ever experienced before, I would say, in the sense that I have professors and also people from the industry that can really speak from their own experience and bring really valuable insights. And then the last reason, or the third reason, that is not less important than other ones, but I think oftentimes gets forgotten a bit, is the student body. I think that GBS is really unique in the way that it brings together very ambitious, but also very approachable and open-minded students from all over the world. And I've really made amazing friends here so far, and I'm super happy that I made it. That I made the choice that I did make in the end.
Thank you, George.
Actually, when I was doing my research initially as a college senior, I was mainly research for the programs in Asia. So I found HKUST. Then I discovered the M2M pathway and also the GBS program through HKUST's website. I know there's like fabulous opportunity because I never thought that I can like come to the United States and come to Yale and study the program. So I think the program setting is really amazing for me at that time. And also because like I'm not coming from a traditional business background, that I studied social science, studied political science in my undergraduate, and I saw the name is called Global Business and Society. I think that actually in accordance with my previous background so much because I was mainly researching about society and I learned some business in HKUSD. And then in Yale, that's the stage where I can combine the both together and think about how we can use the business tactics or like tools to make the society better. So I think that's like a step up from my previous education and a perfect combination of all the experience I have.
Thank you so much. So I have again some questions that the attendees have pre-submitted, but I encourage those that are live in the webinar to please post questions in the Q&A section, and I will then read them out for our panelists along with the ones that I have already gathered from your registration. So Lucia, some people think that the difficult part is getting into the program, but once you're in the program, we make you work really hard. So I want you to talk a little bit about that experience, because I'm surprised when some people come to me and said, oh my God, I thought that the difficult part was getting in. And now, wow, there's so much work. And it's like, yeah, what do you expect? So we have a question about student life. Can you tell me how you're handling your student life? Like your curricular, your extracurriculars, were you expecting this workload before coming or not? How are you managing your days as a GBS student?
I think really, yeah, one of the big challenges here is prioritizing, just because you have so many possibilities, also outside of university, but then also within the university. So I think I would say that it is definitely not a program where you can just lay back and relax for 1 year. You have to work for your classes. But the big difference, I would say, compared to maybe my some experiences during my undergrad, is that I feel like the work that I do really does contribute to my learning. So I actually enjoy the work, which makes it a lot more, a lot easier, I would say. And then at the same time, you try to kind of balance it with all the extracurricular activities, as well as the other opportunities that you have living here in New Haven, super close to New York and Boston. But I would say in the end, it is kind of stressful at times, but it's the good kind of stress.
Thank you. We have a question about careers and recruitment and, what happens after the GBS. But before I target this question to any one of you, I just want to put out there that we're very much aware that a lot of students would come to the GBS and then hope to stay and work in the US. I know that's the goal of many of the students, and that is not an easy one. So I just want to put it out there that nobody should apply to the program thinking that this is going to be a gateway to stay and work in the US. It could happen, but it could also not happen. It depends on many factors, right? So you should come because you're interested in the education, because you're interested in the program per se, and you have a clear idea of what your career path will be next, regardless or the location where you will land a job. When the job market is good and there's a lot of recruitment going on, so our students get more opportunities because there's demand. But right now the market is tough, so it's more difficult to stay in the US. So I just want to put it out there because I know, I'm already scrolling through questions and they are talking about that per se. So I just want to, myself, put it out there. And then I don't know, Fernando, Do you already have plans post GBS? Have you been interacting with the CDO? What can you say about your experience? And if you're not the right person to answer this question, I'll just move on to somebody else. I don't know where you are in your process, so I'm just asking you, but feel free to point to one of your colleagues if they're better suited.
No, I think I can give a good background on this. So I remember Camilo and other people saying this exact same message while I was applying. It really is something that you need to consider once coming here to the US and coming to Yale. There is obviously the opportunity for you to come to a top school, go through recruiting process for companies here in the US, but international students really have it a little bit more challenging because of the whole visa situation. We do have the management science concentration, which is a great resource, which I don't know if Camino or someone's going to probably discuss that a little further, but we do have the opportunity, if we take certain classes that are considered STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, we can extend our OPT to about 3 years, but we do need that support from the hiring company. So it really is a challenge. Discussing a little bit about my recruiting process. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I did come here more towards kind of like a career-oriented focus. So I do have a return offer to go back to Brazil and stay with Accenture, but I really did want to at least try to interview with top consulting and technology firms here in the US. And I feel like I'm having good responses. I am having a handful of interviews within the next couple of weeks. And once again, if that works out, amazing, but it's not a given, right? We are international students. This is not our country. But if you have a lot of confidence in your background, you have a lot of good experience, great. Like, we do have a unique selling point that maybe locals and Americans don't have. Like, a lot of companies that I'm interviewing, they love the international perspective. They love that we speak different languages. They love that we've done projects. For example, I've done projects for Accenture in like different Latin American countries. Like, that's very unique. So we do have a couple of things that we can use ourselves to sell ourselves. But once again, it's not a given. So please have that as a caveat when learning more about the program and applying and actually making the full-on decision to coming here. I don't know if my colleagues, George or Lucia, want to expand on that.
Yeah, just an add-on that the management science, I just received the notice, it has been upgraded into a major. So currently, I think incoming students will enjoy their major will be like management science. So also I would say that those are like support that the school will give us, because like initially it was not a STEM degree, but now it is. It has a flexibility of course registration. You can like design your degree as a STEM degree and now get a major of management science. So a STEM degree definitely will facilitate your recruiting in the United States. And also for me, I also got a return offer before. I got a return offer of a British conglomerate in Hong Kong, but I also did recruiting in the United States, and I got one offer from PwC. I think it's in the Japanese business network because I previously did my bachelor's degree in Japan, so I speak Japanese. Those are all unique selling points. So I definitely agree with Fernando's opinion that you can find a job if you find yourself unique from the local students, unique from the others, will definitely get more interview. So the most important things is to find your own unique points and also do some network, because I think it's very different from the recruiting anywhere else in this world. That United States is very network focused. Actually, it's about finding the people that are already in their industry and let the people know you, so you may get some referral from them. I think that's very important, and maybe that's a kind of mindset change for international students.
I want to pick up on that comment about networking, because that is true. The US is all about networking, and that's not the case in other countries. But before we move on into that, I really want to explain a little bit about the STEM, not STEM, OPT. We are all familiar with that because we live it, but maybe the people that are watching us don't know what we're talking about. So basically, if you do a degree in the US, you are eligible for something that is called OPT, Optional Practical Training, which means that you can stay for one additional year in the US and work without having to have a work visa, just under your student visa. The caveat is what Fernando said: you need a job offer. And so that is something that is completely out of our control. So I cannot promise you that that's going to happen. And that is basically on you and the work that you do. And then also if you're lucky and you land in the right place. Then you have the option, as George was saying, to go for the STEM. Up to now it was concentration. Now we have upgraded to a major to make sure that you have better opportunities. And basically what that means is that when your 1 year OPT expires, you can apply for an extension up to 2 more years. So the 1 year, it's now 3 years that you can stay and work in the US if you have a STEM designated degree. For that, what it means for those doing a STEM is that the flexibility that Lucia was talking about you choosing classes, whatever you want at the School of Management, outside the School of Management, that gets a little bit more limited because now we're going to be asking you that a certain amount of credits have to be STEM credits. So we're going to be giving you the list of STEM classes to choose from. You still have some flexibility and can go outside of STEM and take things at the drama school or the School of Art, anything you want outside of that, but you are a little bit more limited because you have to take classes there. Anyway, picking up back on networking, because it's huge here in the US, how have you done it? Have you reached out to alumni? That's a question that we get all the time. Like, how receptive are the Yale alumni to talk to our students and help them out? Have you done networking outside of the alumni network with companies directly or with fellow students? How does that network work? And how have you leveraged that in your job search? George, I'm going to start with you because you brought it up.
Okay, sure. So definitely I mentioned that regarding like my previous background, I mostly search for example, like the Japanese business network that already happened. I also interact with people like here in Japanese club to maintain my relationship with Japanese business network. And I also leverage like the CDO has provided us an email list of like all previous either Yale alumni. So actually you can definitely call them and definitely you will get. I think I cannot guarantee like 100%, but like most of them will like be happy to reply you. I think Yale SOM has such kind of supportive culture. So you can just, it's not about all like the things that you are seeking benefits from them, but it's really about a chat. Maybe you start from a coffee chat first to talk about your career plan. I think that your alumni is very happy to assist you because they have all endured a similar time as you nowadays. So actually, they're very happy to help you, to offer you some advice. And after gaining some like very good relationship, you may seek for some like referral or like some recommendations from them. I think those are like typical steps that you have to do.
Thank you. Lucia, we have a question regarding being an international student and landing in New Haven, landing in Yale, landing in the US. So can you talk, if you remember, about the early days? How was, moving from France to the US? What kind of support you got from the school? What kind of like orientation activities were most helpful to you? How did you find your apartment? Can you talk a little bit about that transition? How did you experience that transition, and also what kind of support you received?
Yeah, so I would say that the transition overall was pretty smooth. What I really appreciated was that administration already reaches out very early on in the process before arriving at Yale with supportive tips. You get a checklist of what you have to do in terms of visa, vaccinations, etc. So that is really useful. I think the main challenge was probably finding housing because we are not living in the student dorms. But I think also in this regard, there were definitely some resources available, and I would suggest just talking to people who are doing the program right now, and that'll be super helpful. And then upon arriving here at Yale or in the US, I would say it was also very very supportive, very smooth. We have an orientation week, so it's pretty easy to get to know people. There's a very nice program, and I would also say that all of the staff and all of the students already studying at Yale before us were very helpful when you had any questions.
Thank you. I'm going to take this next question. which is about funding the program, scholarships, loans, etc. So for the program, we have a budget for merit scholarship. And so the merit scholarship will look at everything holistically, right? Like your GPA, how well have you done in your undergrad? How well have you done in your MIN program? What career experience you bring? Where are your test scores? Are they strong? Are they a little bit less strong? So we look at everything and then we come up with a merit scholarship. Not everybody gets merit scholarship, but a lot of people do. And then we also have an agreement with a loan provider, international loan provider, that's Forum. So our students can also work with that. And I always encourage also students to look for loan options in their home countries, because many times the interest rates are better when you do it in your home country. So those would be a little bit the resources. Of course, your savings or your family help as well. It's a program with a high price tag, and we totally understand that. And especially for people coming from outside of the US, the tuition is high. But we try to make it work. It's still an effort, and that's the truth. It's still a huge effort in terms of economic resources to make this possible. But we work for you. So please do not refrain from applying. Apply, and then we'll see how we can work with you on that front. Okay. I have another question that I had prepared now, and now it went out of my mind. I wanted to ask something. What was it? Oh, how do you, okay, so the program is very flexible. So you basically craft your curriculum. It's probably the first time in your educational journey where you basically have a say in what is it that you're going to study, or say for most of it. So Fernando, how do you go about this? How do you find out what courses were available? How do you select those courses? And how do you, like, how many do you have to take? Are your days always the same? Or one day you have a lot of classes, another day you don't have class? How does that whole process go? You get admitted into the program, and then how do you know what you're going to be studying here?
Yeah. So piggybacking a little bit on what Lucia said earlier, we really do have a lot of flexibility, and you have the opportunity to explore kind of like your intellectual curiosities. There's a big list of courses we can take, both either at SOM or other graduate schools as well, which also count toward credits of your degree. I've taken the liberty to explore classes in, for example, the Jackson School, which is kind of like the global affairs graduate school here at Yale. I took some very interesting, like, international economics courses there, and it really sparked my interest. And once you have these classes kind of like laid out, it's always good to kind of like understand which are at least the courses that you really have to take because of your careers. I feel like I'm someone who wants to go into consulting. I was someone who's very kind of like tech savvy, data savvy. So I did a lot of the management science courses, but then you also have to, okay, let's take a couple of classes for me because of my own interests. And then you do these other classes and you have that opportunity. So, which is very cool. And then we have visibility of all the classes that are going to be offered throughout the semester. And at least here in the first week, there's kind of like the shopping time where you can join all the classes, you can attend all of them, see which ones you like, and then by the end of the week you can actually choose which ones are the ones you're going to pursue. So there's also that flexibility. And for example, my week looks a little bit more like we have classes from Mondays to Thursdays, and then on Fridays we don't have classes. So usually for me, Fridays are the days where I sit down, try to get all the work done, so we don't have to do it in the weekend. But overall, we do have a lot of free time as well. And with that free time, it's not time for you to just lay down on your couch. No, it's time to do other things from SOM. Something that we discuss a lot in the GBS program is that the true value of being here at Yale goes way beyond your classes. As we've spoken, it's the network, it's the clubs, it's the friendships, it's spending time with your career advisor, spending time, like even in New Haven, like doing things that you wouldn't do normally in your school back home. So with that extra free time above classes, I really urge you to, like, don't waste a single minute. Like, do all these other things, because if you're someone who only comes to Yale only to study, that's fine. but you're going to miss out from a lot of the other things that are going to be offered to you as a student here. So that's a little bit of my advice once you're admitted and you come to New Haven.
I agree more with you. Lucia, I like this question. What has been the most fun part of the program so far?
I think it's super difficult to name one thing, because I've really enjoyed the entire program and everything that kind of revolves around it. I think in terms of academics, there have been some classes that I really enjoyed, for example, energy systems analysis. But I would say that the most fun is not necessarily the sitting in the classroom itself, but then getting to know the people and spending time with the entire SOM community. We've had several events, for example, the Thanksgiving, which was organized by SOM, by the School of Management, which I've really enjoyed because everyone came together and we had a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner with, I don't know how many 100 SOM students. I think this I really enjoyed, and I would say all of these activities with your friends and then also with the broader Yale SOM community, have probably been the most fun experiences here so far.
Thank you. George, we have a question about the admission process. What is most important? Is it your GPA? Is it your test score? Is it your experience? Is it your motivation for the program? What do you think made you a successful candidate to get admission into our program? Then I can compliment, and I will let people know what I'm looking for. But I'm curious to know, why do you think your application was successful? And we got that question.
Definitely. So I think because it's Yale, so definitely you must not have a very low GPA or something, at least a decent GPA and also the test score. But I think besides for you to get into Yale, the most important thing is to show your clear mission in your personal statement and also your interview. Let the interviewers, let the admission officers know who you are. Because I think many applicants, they probably have the similar background, they share prestigious schools like resume, then how are you going to be different from them? The thing it's very important is like your personal statement. That's like where you can show who you are. So definitely you can show your story there, and also the interview process, because that's like the only chance you can have a one-to-one talk with your admission officer. How you're going to leverage that certain minutes, let them feel impressive to you. I think those are all very important parts. I still remember, like during my interview, I talked something that's not on my resume. It was a random like volunteering project, a nonprofit that I've been doing with Tanzania. I'm helping the local girls there. So that's very impressive to the admission officer, because I never talked them before, like in my resume or anything. It's just a thing that happened to do. But that's very important with like Yale's mission about the global, about the society, about like the social impact. So I think those are very important parts, and you can show that you are the person that they're actually seeking for, because it's not that traditional business school focused merely on money, on finance, but it's more leaning to like social impact, to like a person that can combine business and society together.
That's perfect. I couldn't have said it better. So thank you so much. I'm just going to give a hint to those that are watching us today. The worst thing that you can say in the interview is that you want to do the GBS because it's Yale and the prestige of the institution, and you want to come to Yale. I know that is there, and I'm sure that is a part of it, but that will not get you very far. I want to know why you're interested in the GBS. Have you done your research? You are always thinking about what are you going to get from the program, but I am thinking, what are you going to give to the program in the school? That's my perspective when I'm interviewing you. So if you just tell me that you want to come because Yale is a top school in the world, that's not going to give me much. You know what? That answer, anybody in the world can tell me. So that's not going to make a difference. Like, okay, fine, but what else, right? So that what else is what really is an opportunity for you to tell me how you're going to be connecting with the school, how you're going to be advancing our mission, not just during the 9 months that you're with us, but for the rest of your life. And how I'm going to be very proud of this Yale SOM student and alumni for the rest of our lives. That's what I'm looking for. I'm also building a class, so I want diversity in all, the sense of the word. So I just want to also mention that. And now Fernando wants to add something. Go ahead, Fernando.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what George said, and I wanted to complement it a little further. So for the prospective students, if you look into the Yale School of Management mission, it really is preparing leaders for the business and society. Like the society part really does have a lot of weight here. So we're not just traditional business schools that want to have the best executives. No, we want to be future leaders of the world who would really want to trigger societal changes and be part of that forefront of people who are going to bring societal changes to their regions as well. For example, a lot of the things that I pushed a lot in my personal statement was that I wanted to be a leader in Latin America. And part of my story was explaining that, okay, I've done all of these things in South America. I've done also a lot of social projects there. I worked with Venezuelan refugees in Brazil. So that was one of the big things that pushed my resume. But then I explained why Yale was the perfect place to really accelerate all these things that I wanted to do afterwards. So having a very kind of coherent story in your application of where you come from, where do you want to go, and why Yale is the place to kind of take you there quicker. I think that's one of the best things I could kind of push towards your application.
Perfect. We have a question that I think is mostly for me. Basically, how do I segment application diversity by region? Do we prioritize regions where we have fewer applicants? So I guess that we do want diversity, but we want excellence. So that comes first. So I'm not gonna lie, we're gonna look for candidates that I know are going to do well in the program, or I trust that they will do well in the program and they are excellent. And then is when diversity also plays a role. I want to bring a diverse class, but the diverse class is less about region and more about background, contribution, personality, mission alignment. So it's not so much like, oh, I need to bring 3 people from this continent and 3. It's not that. It's a different diversity what I'm looking for. And actually, we do have a lot of students coming from Asia, and we have a lot of students also coming from ATC, reason being our partnership with them through the M2M, but also because they're very good. And so we look excellence, but then diversity then comes next. So I'm going to leave it there. Lucia, how's life in New Haven? I mean, come on, Paris, Sao Paulo, Hong Kong, big cities in the world, and then New Haven, Connecticut. How is life in New Haven?
I mean, for me, coming from HEC Paris, it's in Paris, but then it's in Julian-Joseph, so it's not necessarily the Paris life you would imagine before. I would say that there are a lot of opportunities to spend your time here in New Haven. You have a lot of activities via Yale, for example, the sports or also the other clubs. So I would say there's a lot of free time activities that you can enjoy through Yale. But then also New Haven as a city, is very, very cute. We have a lot of nice restaurants, a lot of nice bars, and you can really feel the student vibe throughout the entire city. I would say the city is really characterized by Yale and its student body. And then something that I also really enjoy about living in New Haven is really its location, directly between New York and Boston. It's about a 2-hour train ride to New York. And we are taking advantage of this, I would say, every 2-3 weeks to spend a day in New York or a weekend in New York. And I think this is really something that it's just incredible to me that I can just sit in a train and then I'm in one of the most amazing cities in the world.
Thank you. We still have time, plenty of time, but I just want to go around with our panelists and ask the question about what advice would you give to potential applicants? What would be your piece of advice? The thing that you would like you had known prior to applying that would have been extremely helpful that obviously you know now. So then we'll take more questions, but I want to make sure I have plenty of time to cover this, because I think this is a very important part of the panel. Like, what piece of advice would you give to a prospective applicant or an applicant? George, I'm going to start with you.
Actually, I had answered this question like in my previous answers. For example, like to show the true yourself and also to show clearly your mission. I think those are very important parts. And I just want to add on one more point is to show your global perspective. Because I think very importantly is that our class is constituted of like different people coming from different countries, and also we share different cultures. So I think those are also important feature of this program. And just as what Camino just said, it's about what you can get to this program. It's like what you can contribute to the discussion here, not only the program, but also in various courses here at Yale SOM. For example, if you have a different previous work experience, if you grow up in a different cultural context, or if you experience education in several different countries, those are all very important materials that you can contribute to our class discussion. So I think the important thing is to demonstrate how you're different and what you can contribute to the class discussion. I think those are very important parts. So yes, I think just chill and show real yourself. It's not about like you fake a different you that will not get you a good grade here and that will not make you accept here, but it's to show true yourself and make sure to demonstrate more unique points you have.
Thank you. Fernando, what will be your advice?
So I agree with George. Be very genuine. So be yourself. Show who you are. I think that something that is very interesting here at Yale, specifically like in these large classrooms and seminars where there's a lot of discussion, I think that we can learn as much from the professors as much from the students and the professors. So everyone really brings a unique perspective from their backgrounds, what they've done, experience-wise, work-wise, life-wise. So try to really not sell, but be genuine. Like, why are you interesting? Why should Yale admit you? Why are you a person who's going to come and really contribute to the discussion, contribute to the community? So try to make that evident. And also give concrete examples. I remember when I was applying, I wrote my personal statement. I would say, hey, I'm someone who really aspires to be a leader in the future. And then I would give concrete examples of leadership positions I've taken before. I'm someone who's really interested in getting into technology and consulting. Oh, what have you done? This, and this. So give concrete examples. If you've done the job, you've done the work, you shouldn't be afraid. If you've done everything if you're here, it's because of something. So be very genuine and honest about who you are and what you want to do.
Thank you. Lucia.
I completely agree with the other two. I would say my biggest advice would be understand who you are, where you want to go, and then understand why the GBS program is a perfect fit for you. So I would really try to make the connection between your personal goals, your personality, and the GBS program. And personal goals doesn't only have to be career oriented, it can also be something for your personal learning, for example. And then make clear why this is a perfect match, and also show, as Camino has already said, why you can contribute something to the community at Yale, because the community really does play a huge role. And then understanding how GBS is a perfect match for you, I think it is crucial that you deeply understand the program, that you understand which classes can you take, which professors teach at Yale. Like, you obviously don't have to learn any professors by heart or so, but kind of maybe have like one or two examples of particular areas that would interest you, particular courses that would interest you, maybe one professor that you find very inspiring, or maybe a club that you find very inspiring. So I would really try to show that you have done your research and that you know that this is the perfect fit for you personally. And in this process, and this kind of like little add-on to the what I wish I had done maybe, is reach out to students that currently study at Yale, or specifically in the GBS program, and reach out to alumni of the GBS program. I think this is really a great way to better understanding what it's really like to be here, because you can only get so much from browsing on the web.
Thank you. We have another question about the SOM community. So you have a flexible curriculum. You take classes not just with GBS students, but you probably have classes with MBAs, with MAMs, and if you are outside of SOM, with graduate students or undergraduate students from other disciplines. So George, how is that SOM and broader Yale community, and how does the fact that the GBS students are a little bit younger and early career compared when you are in classes with most experienced students from the MBA or MAM? How do you describe the SOM community experience as a whole, and also outside of the classroom? Not just I'm talking about classroom, but I'm sure you're part of clubs and activities. How does that play out in the SOM community?
I think another appealing feature of GBS and SOM here is that we don't have a clear segmentation between different programs, so that students from different programs all having classes together. So definitely you can freely choose those MBA electives, and you can have students have classes together with all those MBA students. Then that's a perfect chance for you to interact with them. So I think I also got built very good friendship with MBA students, although they're several ages older than me. But I think they can be your good career guidance, because actually they can offer you some good advice if you want to. For example, if I want to step into the tech industry, you can already find some climates already in that industry, and then you can seek very good advice, or even seek for some referrals after networking. So I think those are all valuable resources that Yale can give you as the whole School of Management and the whole cohort of MBA students and also MAM students. They're even more senior. So actually, it's very good to leverage all those resources. And regarding the broader Yale, as we have a huge range of flexibility and of course registration, you can take Yale Law School, and I can confirm that there will be more prestigious professors there, and also the Yale College. Those are the fresh blood. So for you, if you have never experienced a college life here in the United States, then that may be a good chance. You can take the college courses and how the American college life looks like and experience here in the GBS. I think those are all very attractive points if you consider apply for the GBS program.
Fernando, what has been something that has surprised you the most about the program since you started?
Okay. I think something that really surprised me was that there really isn't any separation between the GBS students and other programs. So as George was saying, you can arrive your first week in a lecture, and you're going to be with so many second-year MBAs, people that are doing asset management, people that are doing masters in advanced management, and everyone is there in the same structure, and then there really isn't any separation. So that was something that really kind of surprised me, because I remember kind of back home in FIGV, we're only the GBS, only the MIM students together. Here, it's very broad. So that is a huge advantage, and it's something that surprised me, because you really get an opportunity to expand your network beyond the MIM program, beyond the GBS program. So that was a huge surprise, and more than just professional, friendship wise. So I'm good friends with people from the MBA program, good friends with people from the MAM program, and it's so cool to just be surrounded by the greater community. And it's something that you really need to kind of maybe push yourself a little more, because it's easy to stay within your GBS, but since everyone's so integrated, you can also develop all those friendships. So that was cool.
Thank you so much. So we have another question, which we already answered, but clearly it's not clear enough, about the selection process for classes. So let me start with something, and then the students can complement. So all the classes you can access prior to coming into the program. For the Yale SOM courses, we have a course auction that happens in July for the fall, and then in November for the spring. And so you basically are given an amount of points and you bid for those classes. That is within the SOM ecosystem. But then there are the classes outside of SOM. So outside of SOM, my understanding, but the students can correct me because they are the ones that have done it, is that basically you reach out to the professor of the class you're interested in, and then they need to basically approve you for the class. Or if there's any prerequisite, I don't know, if you're taking an advanced Portuguese, maybe you need to speak a basic Portuguese to be able to access that. If there's any requisite, they probably let you know. But I think that is the main way you select your classes within SOM, through the course option, outside of SOM, by reaching out directly to the professors. Anything to add? Anything different from your experience?
Only one thing I would maybe add is that for the SOM courses, which we bid on, there are some courses that are very hard to get into because they're extremely popular, so you need a lot of points to bid. And the MBA students, they have more points than we do in total. However, this is really a small fraction of courses, I would say. So most of the classes that you want to get into, you actually do get into, because I know this is not the case for all bidding systems at other universities, at least from what I've heard from friends. So I would say for me personally, I think there was maybe one course that I wanted to get into and I just couldn't because I didn't have the points. But then for my other courses that I wanted to get into, in the end, it always kind of worked out. And also as GBS students, we also have our GBS classes that we can get into for free, basically. So you don't have to be worried about ending up with no classes or ending up only with classes that you don't like, because in the end, I would say that really for the vast majority of classes, it is very feasible to get them via the bidding system.
Perfect, thank you. We keep getting more questions about scholarships. I would probably ask you to write to our inbox with your particular case, and it'll be easier to answer those questions. We do have merit scholarships. We look at every candidate holistically, and merit means everything has to be good. The GPA, the test scores, the experience, the personality, the fit with the mission, the fit with the school, and that's how we assess candidates. But that's all I'm gonna be sharing, because then if we go into individual cases, I think we need to talk privately, so feel free to reach out to us and we will cover that. We still have 8 more minutes, so feel free to keep asking questions in the Q&A. I just want to remind everybody the deadline. So our next round is February 21st. And I encourage all of you that are considering the program, ideally to apply by that deadline if you feel that your application is already strong enough. Reason being that our third deadline is in April, early April, and that leaves then little time to then transition, right? Find an apartment, work on your visa, leave all your commitments, and then move to the US. So it's doable, and there's a lot of people that do it, but it's a little bit more stressful. I also want to mention that orientation is starting August 12th, and it's mandatory. And I want to stress that because in this particular program, we always struggle with people that want to delay their arrival because they're doing summer internships, which I understand, but it's mandatory to be here on August 12th, first day of orientation. So if you are planning your summers, make sure that you are free by August 12th to be here joining us during orientation, because again, this is an in-person program. There's no way to connect remotely. You have to be here to live the experience. Okay. I don't see any more questions coming in. Oh, they're asking about your personal and professional goals coming into the program. They think that that could be helpful for prospective candidates. I think you already covered this, but I guess the question would be, have those goals, personal or professionally, changed from your time at the MIM, or they remain the same and they have just been solidified during the GBS? Or have you made any changes to the goals that you had previously where you were starting your master's in management? I'm not targeting anybody because this is a question that is a little bit very specific, and might be the answer no. But if anybody wants to comment on this, maybe this would be helpful.
I think maybe just for me, I would say my goals have kind of specified a bit more, maybe. I knew that I wanted to go into consulting initially after graduating from the GBS program, and this has not changed. I'm still planning to go into consulting at first, but I think being surrounded by so many individuals that are working on their own startups, for example, this has really become more, this has really sparked my interest now, I would say. So I think before I knew I wanted to work in consulting and afterwards potentially in PE, VC, maybe startup. But I think now that I'm surrounded by so many inspiring founders themselves, my interest has definitely increased in this area. And it's something that I also explore now more during the semester.
Super interesting.
Yeah, I think I can expand a little bit on that as well. So I think my goals also became a little bit more specific being here. And maybe I think my trajectory doesn't, I still feel it's very similar to what I wanted in the beginning, but I think there's a little bit of a change of mindset being here at Yale. I feel like right now I'm way more ambitious than before because, as Lucia was saying, you're surrounded by people who have done like these amazing things at a very early stage in their careers. Like we have people in our cohorts who are founders of companies who have already sold out, and people who had amazing experiences in the top management consulting firms, amazing experiences in investment banking. So once you're part of this very kind of like high achieving group, like your mentality does change a little bit. You become more ambitious, you become a little bit more optimistic. So that's something that really kind of like helps in your personal development. That's something that I've really taken out from being part of this just amazing group of people.
Thank you. George, do you want to say
Yes.
something?
Like for me, previously, my internship was all focused on consulting, but I have an interest about technical things, about the tech sector, about different like engineering things. So definitely at the school, Yale, I took a lot of like college engineering courses, and also in SOM took some like software management or like social media analytics. I think those are very good courses for starters like me because I have no previous engineering or like programming background, but I can still grab those contents. So I think very important advice here at Yale is to get out of your comfort zone. As you get all those flexibility, you can choose all the courses you want. Why don't you just choose something that is fresh to you, that is completely new to you? Because I think here courses at SOM are very friendly for beginners because we all come from different backgrounds. So actually they start teaching you from like ABCs to actually you can finally design a website for your own. So I think those are all very like beneficial materials and resources you can leverage about if you are seeking for a career change, if you're thinking about like getting out of your comfort zone, here is the great place for you.
Thank you so much. So we're coming to the end of our webinar. We're 2 minutes away. So I really want to thank everybody, like everybody attending the webinar. I know it might be very early in your morning, very late in your evening, mid of the day, like for us. But anyway, you are busy people. So the fact that you're taking time away from your busy schedules to join us, it means really a lot. I also want to let everybody know that the webinar is being recorded. So we're going to be posting it on our website in case you want to go back to it, or you have friends that were hoping to attend and couldn't make it in the end. So this webinar will be recorded and will be posted on the website. Definitely, I want to thank our panelists. You've heard they're busy people, and the fact that they're here today sharing their experience with us, it's really, really something that I appreciate a lot. I'm also really enjoying seeing your journeys, right? I basically read your applications, and some of you I interviewed at the very beginning. So it's very fulfilling to see how your journey is going, and I hope that we stay connected, and I can see how it ends in May when we all meet in commencement. So thank you for spending this time with us on your Friday, no class, but very busy as well, catching up with work. And I hope that everybody has a great weekend ahead. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.